Hello and welcome back to Game of Trades, your #1 channel for videos on the stock market and cryptocurrencies. This video is going to be focused on Bitcoin that's currently attempting to break out here above its minor bearish price channel here. We're going to talk about a lot of things in this episode. I want to discuss what's happening in terms of the momentum dynamics on Bitcoin, and we're going to take a look at the on-chain data on Bitcoin to see if things are still pointing up for the short term. There is just so much that you can tell about the supply and demand dynamics on Bitcoin through the use of on-chain analysis. That's one of our focus points of these videos. If you're interested in following this crazy asset with us, make sure to click on that subscribe button. And now, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so I want to begin with the technical picture on Bitcoin. This is a bullish price channel that I've highlighted on this logarithmic chart. We love to use log scale on Bitcoin. The price movements are just so intense, so volatile, that you just have to use a log scale to really take a look at the technical picture. It puts all of the price movements in proportion to each other so that you can actually take a look at what was happening back in 2013 in proportion to what's happening right now. If you don't use a log scale, it looks something like this, with the price being really flat in those early Bitcoin years. So jumping into that daily chart of Bitcoin on that log scale, we have this price channel that we've been looking at for quite some time, connecting these three lows, 1, 2, 3 lows, and also capturing the big highs on this rally. So we have 4 big reactions on this channel, 2 levels of support, 2 levels of resistance, and you have a middle zone on this price channel that also acts as support and resistance. We talked about this in the last video, and it does seem like that support zone acted as a beautiful level of support throughout this entire period here. Look at these daily closes systematically just above that line of support. Same thing right here, and right now we're bouncing, breaking out. That's bullish. We'll see what happens over the next few trading sessions. I don't like to give high convictions on the short-term analysis, but this is good news here. So just from a linear technical standpoint, that's great. The next big level of resistance is still at around 75k, the top of this bullish price channel, and that resistance zone that connects the high from 2021 all the way to that high in 2017. So very important resistance zone to look at. Now, I did want to talk about the MACD on this chart. The MACD is one of the most popular momentum indicators when using technical analysis. And we found some very interesting things that are happening on the momentum right now. You can see what's happening. We had that cross down throughout this small correction, bringing us into a short-term bearish momentum. And now we're seeing that MACD curl back up and potentially get back into that bullish momentum. So that's very interesting. And we actually made a tweet yesterday talking about this, where I showed this chart right here that compares the run that we saw throughout 2020 to the run that we've seen throughout 2021. And it shows you the momentum dynamics and the similarities we saw throughout those 2 moves. You can see back in September here, you had that first big bullish momentum move here in 2020 that ended up being a kind of a bull trap scenario here. You had a very strong move with momentum going up, and then you can see what happened. You had a grind up in the price making a higher high, right? Price is making a higher high, and momentum is crossing down and heading lower. That's divergence, right? You have price going up and momentum going down. That's not a good sign, and what followed that was a correction. And you had what I call a brief bear trap, where you saw the MACD go below that 0 line. You go into a brief downtrend here before that big run up to that all-time high. Now let's see how similar that is to 2021. Very similar price action. Big bullish move here. Then you have the price grind up, make a higher high as momentum is going down. So that's divergence. Then you have a correction, brief bear trap, and then you have a big, massive bullish move to get back up to the all-time high. So this entire period that we've seen throughout 2021 is so similar, just in terms of the type of momentum that we've seen, so similar to 2020. And now we've had this period of consolidation with the bearish crossover here, very similar to what was happening right here. Bearish crossover, consolidation. We have no divergence right back in September. Price is not making a higher high like it was in September. So that's a much more bullish structure than right here or than right here. This looks a lot like this. So this is quite a technical analysis of Bitcoin, but I do think it's useful to take a look at that. You don't often tend to see such strong similarities between two moments in time. Now, obviously, we know what happened after November 2020. We saw a parabolic move on Bitcoin. I think there's a reasonable chance we get a similar move in 2021, although we are going to take a look at the on-chain data to see if that confirms what we're seeing right now on these charts. Now, that is the primary objective of what we do on gameoftrades.net. For our crypto members, we try to take a look at everything into detail, whether that is the technical analysis, whether that's the on-chain data, the cross-market analysis, or the actual sentiment. I think there's a lot of traders and investors out there that just focus on one particular topic on Bitcoin, and I just don't think that's a very useful way to go about predicting its price movements. You can have a bullish technical picture, but if the on-chain data does not confirm those bullish technicals, we're not going to tell you that we're expecting upside. We need all the information that we look at to coincide with each other. If there's one piece of the puzzle that's missing, then we're going to be telling you guys that our convictions on Bitcoin are low or that the outlook is mixed. That's exactly what we were talking about right here. Although there were a lot of bullish on-chain developments in this zone here, we knew there was a lot of divergence building between the price that was going higher, the momentum that was going down. And although a lot of people were expecting much more upside here, we tried to keep our members on the right side of the trade and not FOMO into that move up. The same thing goes with the moves down. You don't want to be capitulating when Bitcoin's about to make a bottom, and that's why it's so useful to look at the entire panel of different data points to help you keep a contrarian outlook and to maximize your potential returns. Now, of course, we're not always going to get it right. That's not the point of our service, but we do try our best to give you guys an edge over other players and to keep your emotions in check. So again, make sure to check out our website at gameoftrades.net. Test out our free trial. I'm sure that you guys will not regret it. Now let's take a look at some of the on-chain data on Bitcoin. This is some very useful stuff. This is the liquid supply on Bitcoin, right? So you've got two big types of supply on Bitcoin. You've got liquid and illiquid. Illiquid supply are Bitcoin that are not moved much from person to person, so they don't go into circulation very easily. Whereas the liquid supply, that's the chart that we have right in front of us, those are Bitcoin that do move a lot from person to person, meaning they go into the open market to be bought or sold by other market participants. They're not just kept away, stored, and left off the market. And it's incredibly important to look at it if you want to find out where Bitcoin is going to make its next big move. Look at this. This was the all-time high on Bitcoin back in April 2020, back in April 2021. And in this bull trap move here, you had Bitcoin's price rally, but the liquid supply was going up. So it told you, yes, price is rising, but there's a lot more Bitcoin that are becoming available to buy. And so what happens when you've got more supply available? That obviously brings down the price. And the opposite is true. When you have price that goes down, but the liquid supply goes down as well, it tells you, yes, price is going down, but there's less Bitcoin available to buy. And so that liquid supply is not confirming the move down in price and tells you you're about to see a bottom, right? So Bitcoin price and liquid supply moving up together, that tells you you're about to see a top. But if they move down together, you're about to see a bottom. The same thing happened back here on this move up here in August. You had Bitcoin's price rise, liquid supply rising, and you get a top. Now look at what's happening. You have Bitcoin falling. We've seen Bitcoin falling a little bit here, and the liquid supply is not confirming that move down. So it doesn't guarantee that we're going to move straight up from here. It just strongly increases the odds that this is not a durable correction. This is just a pure technical correction, and that we are eventually going to move higher. Now, this is another big chart that we've been looking at over the past couple of days. That's the spent output H bands on Bitcoin, another very, very useful on-chain metric to look at if you're trading and investing in cryptocurrencies. We look at the 2 to 5 years spent output H band. So these are coins that have been held for 2 to 5 years. They haven't been sold in that amount of time, and it tells you whether they're being sold right now and how much they're being sold. And so we've taken a look at this before. If you've been following our videos, this is basically like following the smart money, because these investors tend to be really, really smart regarding the type of transactions they make. They tend to sell a lot more into strength, right? Look at this. Bitcoin is rising here, and you see profit taking from these coins increase in those big moves up. Every time you see a big spike on Bitcoin's price, you have profit taking go up. And so the first thing we can take a look at is obviously that we haven't had any type of big spike recently. So by that logic, this shouldn't be a big top. But what we can also see is that we've had the spent output H bands come down here. So profit taking is actually going down on this recent consolidation here, quite significantly here. And I put arrows and dotted lines every time you see that type of move, and it tends to give you a pretty good risk reward, right? You have profit taking bottom, you have Bitcoin's price bottom, very close to a bottom back here, same thing here, and back throughout this period. This was a highly effective signal. So again, we like to give our convictions on the market. A lot of people don't appreciate us being biased towards one direction, but after all, when you're trading, when you're investing, you do have to take binary decisions. Either you buy or you sell. Either you buy or you don't. And so right now, based on the technicals, based on the momentum, based on the sentiment, based on the on-chain data, we are bullish on Bitcoin. We expect more upside. If you appreciate this content, if you appreciate the effort that's been put into these videos, make sure to let us know by clicking on that like button. In fact, make sure to smash that like button as hard as you can. Now, in the meantime, I wish you good luck on your trading, and see you next time.